WNBA finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just, you know, it's...
They say that in professional sports, no single player is ever bigger than the league itself. The shield always protects itself, and the commissioner always holds the gavel. But every rule has an exception, and in the WNBA, that exception has a name: Caitlin Clark. For the past year, we have watched a silent war brewing between the old guard of the WNBA and the new wave that Clark represents. But recently, that Cold War turned hot. Following a massive announcement involving NBC and the future of media rights, reports suggest that WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is absolutely fuming behind closed doors. This wasn't just a business deal, it was a hostile takeover of the narrative. The dynamics have shifted so violently that the front office is reportedly in panic mode, realizing they have lost control of their biggest asset. The story you are about to hear isn't just about basketball, it is about money, jealousy, and the devastating realization that the WNBA establishment played their hand wrong. They tried to humble a superstar, but instead, they handed her the keys to the kingdom. Commissioner Engelbert is allegedly exploding because she has realized the uncomfortable truth. Caitlin Clark doesn't need the WNBA to survive. The WNBA needs her. And thanks to NBC, Clark now has the leverage to dictate terms, leaving the commissioner powerless to stop her. To understand why the commissioner is reportedly losing her cool, we have to look at the magnitude of what just happened with NBC. We know that the WNBA secured a historic media rights deal, valued at around $2.2 billion over 11 years. On paper, this looks like a win for Commissioner Engelbert. She gets to stand at the podium and claim she saved the league. But if you look closer at the fine print and the behavior of the networks, a different picture emerges. NBC didn't pay that money for the WNBA. They paid that money for the Caitlin Clark Show. Insiders are whispering that NBC's strategy is explicitly focused on Clark-centric programming. They aren't interested in the everyone is equal marketing strategy that the WNBA has pushed for decades. They want the ratings, and they know the ratings come from one person. This has created a massive rift. The commissioner wants to promote the 144, the idea that every roster spot is valuable. NBC, however, is treating the league like a star vehicle. By aligning themselves so heavily with Clark, the network has effectively bypassed the commissioner's authority. Engelbert can't tell NBC to stop showing Clark. She can't tell them to focus on the Las Vegas Aces or the New York Liberty if the numbers don't back it up. The announcement wasn't just about games being aired. It was a signal that the networks are now the ones calling the shots, and their chosen queen is number 22. But if the NBC deal was a headache for the commissioner, what happened next was a migraine. We have to talk about the unrivaled league. This was supposed to be the WNBA's big off-season sisterhood moment. Founded by stars Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, this 3-on-3 league was pitched as the ultimate destination for top talent to make money and stay in shape during the winter. They had the funding, they had the roster, and they had the hype. But they needed one thing to make it truly viable: Caitlin Clark. Reports indicate that Unrivaled threw everything they had at her. We're talking about a Lionel Messi-style offer, over $1 million in salary, equity in the league, and massive incentives. It was an offer designed to be impossible to refuse. The commissioner and the league's veterans likely expected Clark to fall in line, take the check, and help boost the profile of her peers. But then, the shocker came. Clark said no. She turned down millions and the chance to play with the elites. This rejection sent shockwaves through the front office. Why? Because it was a flex. It was Clark telling the establishment, "I don't need your money, and I don't need your validation." By saying no to Unrivaled, she starved the new league of the attention it desperately needed. It proved that she is building her own empire, separate from the clique that has treated her with hostility all year. For Engelbert, this is a disaster. It shows that Clark is uncontrollable and willing to walk away from the table, leaving the rest of the league to fend for itself. To truly understand why Engelbert is reportedly exploding, we have to look at her personal reputation, which has taken a massive beating. The tension between Clark and the commissioner didn't start with NBC. It started with silence. Throughout the season, fans watched as Clark was targeted with hard fouls, unnecessary contact that often looked more like hazing than basketball. Through it all, the league office remained stunningly quiet. The perception was that Engelbert was afraid to upset the veteran players by protecting the rookie. Then came the interview that changed everything. When asked about the toxicity and the dark cloud of fan wars surrounding the league, Engelbert gave a corporate, rambling answer about rivalries driving viewership. She compared the hate-filled discourse to the Bird versus Magic era. It was a tone-deaf disaster. The Players' Union, WNBA, slammed her. Clark's fans slammed her. Even the media turned on her. She had to issue a frantic apology, but the damage was done. This failure of leadership created a vacuum. Clark realized that the person at the top wasn't going to look out for her. This is why the NBC alliance is so dangerous for Engelbert. Clark has effectively found a new protector in the form of massive media conglomerates. The commissioner is angry because she knows she fumbled the bag. She had the chance to champion the biggest star in the world, but she tried to play politics instead. Now, she's watching from the sidelines as Clark transcends the league entirely. We can't discuss this NBC narrative without bringing up the Olympics. This was the first major crack in the foundation. When the selection committee left Caitlin Clark off the Team USA roster for Paris, it was viewed by many as a gatekeeping move by the veterans. They wanted to prove that you have to wait your turn. Commissioner Engelbert publicly supported the committee's decision, hiding behind the basketball reasons excuse. But here is where the plot thickens. NBC, the network broadcasting the Olympics, was reportedly furious. They knew that Clark on the roster would have shattered viewership records for women's basketball globally. By leaving her off, the WNBA establishment cost the network millions in potential ad revenue. Now, fast forward to today. NBC is doubling down on Clark for the WNBA season because they are not going to let the old guard cost them money again. The commissioner knows that the networks are still bitter about the Olympic fumble. This new push to center everything around Clark is almost like revenge from the media giants, forcing the league to do what they should have done in the summer: put the star on the screen. The commissioner's frustration is compounded by the fact that she has to manage a locker room full of players who are reportedly seething with jealousy. The NBC announcement confirms what many veterans feared, that the sun rises and sets with Caitlin Clark. You have legends like Diana Taurasi and Cheryl Swoops, who have spent months trying to diminish Clark's impact, claiming reality is coming, or refusing to credit her for the league's growth. But the NBC deal is reality hitting them. The networks aren't paying billions to watch the players who have been there for 10 years. They are paying for the rookie. This puts Engelbert in a terrible position. She has to keep the peace. The Players Association is powerful, and they don't like the idea of one player getting special treatment. But the commissioner can't argue with the economics. She is trapped between an angry workforce that feels disrespected and a corporate partner, NBC, that only cares about the one player the workforce dislikes. It is a pressure cooker, and it's no wonder reports say she is ready to explode. She is trying to manage egos in a world where the market has already decided who the winner is. Another layer to this drama is the civil war happening within the sports media itself, which reflects poorly on the league's control. We saw the situation with Cheryl Swoops, a WNBA legend and Hall of Famer. She spent months taking subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, jabs at Clark, manipulating stats, or refusing to say her name on broadcasts. Eventually, the backlash grew so loud that Swoops was effectively removed from the booth for a scheduled game. This was a clear message from the higher-ups in media. Do not damage the product. The product is Caitlin Clark. Commissioner Engelbert prefers a world where WNBA legends are revered and protected. But the networks are showing they will cut ties with anyone, even a legend like Swoops, if they threaten the Golden Goose. This undermines the commissioner's authority again. It sends a message to every commentator and analyst: get on the Clark train or get left at the station. Engelbert is losing control of the narrative because the media partners are no longer willing to tolerate the hating that the league allowed to fester for so long. Let's cut through the noise and talk about the cold, hard cash. This is the root of the commissioner's stress. The WNBA has historically lost money, lots of it. For over 25 years, it was subsidized by the NBA. Then, Caitlin Clark arrived. Suddenly, arenas are sold out. Jersey sales are up 500%. Charter flights are finally being approved because the revenue is there to support them. The commissioner knows that the WNBA's sudden solvency is fragile. It is built almost entirely on the Clark effect. If Clark were to get injured, or if she decided to take a hiatus, or if she decided to play in Europe instead, the bubble bursts. The NBC deal likely has clauses and expectations regarding viewership that rely on Clark playing. This gives Clark immense leverage. In a normal negotiation, the employer holds the power. Here, the employee is the entire economy. Engelbert is exploding because she realizes she is no longer the boss. She is the caretaker of a house that Caitlin Clark built. If Clark wants to change the schedule, or the travel arrangements, or the media protocols, the commissioner has to listen, because the alternative is financial ruin. But it wasn't just the media deal that caused friction. It was the schedule itself. Early in the season, fans noticed something strange. The Indiana Fever played a brutal schedule. More games in the opening month than almost anyone else, against the toughest teams in the league. It looked, to many outsiders, like a setup. It felt like the league was throwing Clark into the deep end, hoping she would drown so the "she needs to adjust" narrative would stick. If that was the plan, it backfired spectacular. Clark survived the gauntlet and thrived. Now, with NBC involved, the scheduling dynamics will likely change. Networks will demand prime slots for Clark, rest days to ensure she is fresh for national TV, and matchups that maximize ratings. The commissioner's office, which sets the schedule, will now have to answer to the network executives. Engelbert can no longer use the schedule as a tool to balance the league. The schedule will be built around one player, further diminishing the commissioner's power to maintain that 144 equality philosophy. There is another group in this equation that is making the commissioner sweat: the sponsors. Brands like Nike, Gatorade, and Wilson are pouring money into the league, but their marketing is overwhelmingly focused on Clark. Nike, specifically, has a massive deal with Clark that reportedly dwarfs her WNBA salary. This creates a weird dynamic where Clark's loyalty might lie more with her sponsors than with the league itself. If Nike tells Clark to skip the unrivaled league, she skips it. If NBC wants a halftime interview, she does it. The commissioner is slowly realizing that the corporate giants have more influence over her star player than she does. Engelbert's job is to secure sponsorships for the league. But when the sponsors only want the player, it makes the league office look redundant. The explosion we are hearing about is likely a reaction to these sponsors bypassing Engelbert and going straight to Clark's representation. It's humiliating for a commissioner to be cut out of the loop in her own sport. We also have to talk about the fans. The WNBA has always had a dedicated, albeit small, fan base. But the Clarkies, the millions of new fans, are different. They are loyal to Caitlin, not the WNBA. They have openly criticized the commissioner, the referees, and the other players. Engelbert is facing a fan rebellion. Every time she makes a misstep, thousands of comments flood social media calling for her resignation. The NBC announcement emboldens these fans. It validates their belief that Clark is the only thing that matters. The commissioner is trying to hold on to the legacy fans who hate the change, while also trying not to alienate the millions of new fans who pay the bills. It is an impossible balancing act. The NBC announcement essentially validates the new fans. It tells them, "You were right, she is the star." This further isolates the commissioner from the core WNBA culture that she came from. She is losing the locker room, and she is losing the public trust. One of the most controversial aspects of this saga was how the league handled the accusations of racism and toxicity. When fans called out the rough treatment of Clark, sections of the media and the league spun it as the fans being toxic, rather than addressing the behavior on the court. It was a deflection tactic, but that tactic has run its course. With NBC bringing a mainstream, global audience to the games, the league can no longer hide behind niche narratives. The cameras will be in 4K, and the commentary will be scrutinized. If a player takes a cheap shot at Clark next season, it won't just be a Twitter debate. It will be a segment on the Today Show. The commissioner knows this. She knows that the increased scrutiny from NBC means she has to clean up the league's image. She can no longer allow the physicality to border on assault, because the casual viewer won't stand for it. This forces Engelbert to crack down on the very veterans she has been trying to protect, creating even more internal conflict. So, what happens next? That is the question causing the explosion. The commissioner is looking at the 2025 season and seeing a landscape she doesn't recognize. The Golden State Valkyries are entering the league, expansion is happening, and the pressure is at an all-time high. There are rumors that Clark's camp is aware of their leverage and might start making demands. Better security? Private travel for everyone? Changes to the officiating? In the past, a rookie making demands would be laughed out of the room. But now, if Clark hints that she is unhappy, NBC executives are likely on the phone to the commissioner within minutes, asking, "How do we fix this?" Engelbert is no longer the ultimate authority. She is the middle manager trying to keep the talent happy, so the executives, the networks, don't fire her. It is a humiliating demotion in terms of actual power, even if her title remains the same. As we wrap this up, the picture becomes crystal clear. The NBC announcement was the final nail in the coffin of the old WNBA. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is reportedly furious because she has been outmaneuvered. She tried to maintain a collective, everyone gets a trophy system, but the market demanded a superstar. Caitlin Clark, by securing the backing of the biggest media companies in the world and rejecting the desperate pleas of the unrivaled league, has proven that she is the sun around which the WNBA planets revolve. The explosion in the front office is the sound of a paradigm shift. The WNBA is no longer a charity case. It is big business. And in big business, you don't fight the money. Caitlin Clark is the money. The commissioner can be angry, the veterans can be jealous, and the critics can be loud. But none of it matters anymore. The revolution will be televised. It will be on NBC, and it will be led by Caitlin Clark. The only question left is whether Commissioner Engelbert can adapt to this new world, or if she will be the next casualty of the Caitlin Clark era. But that wasn't the whole story. Just when you think the dust has settled, there are whispers of yet another power move on the horizon, one that could involve the players' union itself. But that is a story for another time. Thanks for watching.